The church bells rang, but they weren't for us. I stood outside the old brick chapel, my breath visible in the cold Vermont air, watching my family file in for my sister's wedding without me. They'd made it clear, a gay son wasn't welcome. Not today. Not ever. My name is Ethan Caldwell, 25, a graphic designer with dreams bigger than this sleepy town of Willow Creek could hold. I'd grown up here, in a house filled with Sunday sermons and my mother's apple pies. But the warmth of those memories had turned to ash when I came out at 18. My father's last words to me were, "You're no son of mine." My mother cried but didn't stop him. My sister, Lily, sent me a text months later, "Don't come back." So I didn't. Until now. I wasn't here to crash the wedding. I was here for closure. Or maybe to prove I could face the rejection head on. My sneakers crunched on the gravel as I lingered across the street, hidden by the shadow of an oak tree. That's when I saw him, Jasper Nguyen, 26, the boy I'd loved in secret during high school. He stood by the church steps, his black hair catching the morning light, his hands stuffed in the pockets of a worn flannel shirt. He wasn't part of the wedding party either. His family, like mine, had cast him out when he came out as gay. "Ethan." His voice was soft, disbelieving, as he spotted me. My heart lurched. Jasper had been my first everything first crush. First kiss. First heartbreak. We'd parted ways when I left for college in Boston. Too young and scared to make it work. Now, here he was, looking at me like I was a ghost. "Jasper," I managed, stepping closer. "What are you doing here?" He gave a wry smile. "Same as you, I guess. Watching a family that doesn't want me." We stood there, two outcasts in a town that preached love but practiced exclusion. The bell stopped, and the silence felt heavier than the years we'd lost. "You want to get out of here?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, and just like that, we were walking away from the church, from the past, towards something neither of us could name. We ended up at Millie's Diner, a greasy spoon on the edge of town that hadn't changed since we were kids sneaking fries after school. The red vinyl booths and the smell of burnt coffee felt like a time capsule. Jasper slid into the booth across from me, his dark eyes searching mine. "You look different," he said. "Older, but good." "You too." I meant it. He'd grown into himself stronger, sharper, but still with that quiet kindness that had drawn me to him all those years ago. "What's your life now? You still in Willow Creek?" He shook his head. "Moved to Burlington a couple years back. I'm a social worker now, helping kids in foster care, trying to make sure they don't feel as alone as I did." His voice carried a weight I recognized, the kind that comes from rebuilding yourself after being broken. "I'm in Boston," I said. "Designing logos, album covers, that kind of thing. It's not glamorous, but it's mine." I paused, then added, "I missed you." The words slipped out before I could stop them. Jasper's eyes softened, and for a moment, we weren't two strangers reconnecting. We were 17 again, stealing moments in the woods behind the school, promising each other forever before we knew what forever meant. "I missed you too," he said, his voice low. "But I didn't think I'd see you again. Not here." We talked for hours, the diner emptying around us. He told me about his work, about the kids who reminded him of us, scared, defiant, searching for a place to belong. I told him about the nights I'd spent wondering if I'd ever feel whole again after my family shut me out. By the time we left, the sun was setting, and something unspoken had shifted between us. The next morning, I woke up in a cheap motel room, my phone buzzing with a text from Jasper, "Meet me at the lake." 10 a.m. I didn't hesitate. Lake Champlain was our old haunt, where we'd skipped stones and dreamed of escaping Willow Creek. When I arrived, Jasper was already there, sitting on a weathered dock, his boots dangling over the water. "I've been thinking," he said as I sat beside him. "We're not kids anymore. We don't have to let this town define us." "What are you saying?" I asked, my pulse quickening. "I'm saying we start over. Together. Not here, but somewhere we choose. Somewhere we can be us." His words hit me like a wave. I'd spent years running from the pain of being disowned, building walls around my heart. But Jasper's hand brushing mine felt like a key turning in a lock. "I'm in," I said, my voice steady despite the fear. "But it's not going to be easy." He laughed, a sound that warmed the chilly air. "When has it ever been easy for us?" We spent the day planning, dreaming, daring to believe we could build something new. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jasper's phone rang. His face paled as he listened. "It's my sister," he whispered after hanging up. "She's getting married next month. And she wants me there, but only if I don't make it about me." I knew that tone, the one that said family hadn't changed, that their love came with conditions. "What are you going to do?" I asked. He stared at the water, his jaw tight. "I don't know. But I know I'm done hiding who I am." That night, as we sat in his beat-up car, Jasper leaned over and kissed me. It was slow, deliberate, a promise that we'd face whatever came next together. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. Our families, this town, the world, they'd test us. And we'd have to fight for every moment of happiness we claimed. Jasper's kiss lingered on my lips as we drove back to Burlington under a starlit sky. The road stretched dark and quiet, but my mind was loud with questions. Could we really build a life together when our pasts kept pulling us back? The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Jasper invited me to stay at his small apartment in Burlington, a cozy space filled with secondhand furniture and books on social work. I brought my sketchbooks and laptop, setting up a makeshift workspace in his living room. We fell into a rhythm, mornings spent drinking coffee on his tiny balcony, afternoons working side by side, evenings tangled in each other's arms. It felt like a dream, but the real world loomed. Jasper's sister, Min, had invited him to her wedding, but the invitation came with a sting. "She said I can come, but I can't bring a +1," he told me one night, his voice tight. "She doesn't want her fiancé's family to know I'm gay. Said it'd complicate things." I set down my sketchpad, my chest aching for him. "That's not an invitation, Jasper. That's a leash." He nodded, staring at the floor. "I know. But she's my little sister. I practically raised her after our parents kicked me out. I want to be there for her, even if it hurts." I reached for his hand, feeling the weight of his loyalty. "Then we'll figure it out. Together." The next day, we decided to confront the pain head-on. Jasper called Min, putting her on speaker. Her voice was hesitant, laced with guilt. "I just don't want drama. Jasper. You know how Mom and Dad are. And Tom's family, they're traditional." "Traditional?" Jasper's voice was calm but sharp. "You mean they'd rather pretend I don't exist than see me happy?" Silence stretched on the line. Finally, Min whispered, "I'm sorry. I just want my wedding to be perfect." Jasper's jaw clenched, but he didn't snap. "I'll be there, Min. But I'm not hiding who I am. If that's a problem, you need to say it now." She didn't. The call ended with a promise to talk later, but the tension hung in the air. That night, Jasper barely slept, and I held him as he wrestled with the choice between family and self-respect. To clear our heads, we started exploring Burlington's art scene. I landed a freelance gig designing posters for a local theater, and Jasper introduced me to his friends, a tight-knit group of misfits who'd become his chosen family. There was Lena, a trans woman who ran a queer youth center, and Marcus, a bisexual poet who hosted open mic nights. They welcomed me like I'd always belonged. And for the first time, I felt what home could be. One evening, at a poetry slam, Marcus read a piece about love surviving rejection. His words hit me hard. They can take your name, your place, your blood, but they can't take your heart. Afterward, Jasper squeezed my hand under the table, and I knew he felt it too. We were building something stronger than the families we'd lost. But the past wasn't done with us. My sister, Lily, emailed me out of the blue. Her words cold and formal. Mom's sick. She's asking for you. Come home. No apology. No warmth, just a demand. I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. Jasper read it over my shoulder and said, "You don't owe her anything, Ethan. But if you want to go, I'm with you." I didn't know what I wanted. Part of me longed to see my mom, to hear her say she regretted turning me away. But another part, the part that had spent 7 years rebuilding myself, knew better than to hope for miracles. "I need time to think," I said, and Jasper nodded, pulling me into a hug. We threw ourselves into work to distract from the looming decisions. Jasper took on extra hours at the youth center, mentoring kids who reminded us of our younger selves. I poured my emotions into my art, designing a series of posters with bold, vibrant colors that screamed defiance and hope. One night, as we lay in bed, Jasper traced the lines of a tattoo I'd gotten in Collegia Phoenix rising from flames. "This is us," he said softly. "We burn, but we rise." His words sparked something in me. What if we didn't just rise? I said. What if we built something they can't ignore? Something that shows the world we're here. We're queer, and we're not going anywhere. Jasper's eyes lit up. Like what? I hesitated, then let the idea spill out. A wedding. Our wedding. Not to prove a point, but to celebrate us. To show everyone our families. This town. The world that love like ours doesn't just survive. It thrives. He stared at me, his breath catching. You're serious? Dead serious, I said, my heart pounding. Marry me, Jasper. Let's do this. For a moment, he didn't speak. Then he kissed me, fierce and full of promise. Yes, he whispered against my lips. Let's build our own damn wedding. The decision felt like a rebellion, a declaration that we were done letting others define our worth. But as we started planning, reality set in. We had no money, no venue, and families who'd likely boycott us. The odds were stacked against us, but we'd faced worse. Together, we'd make it happen or die trying. Planning a wedding with no money and no family support felt like building a castle out of sand. Jasper and I sat cross-legged on his apartment floor, surrounded by scribbled notes and empty coffee mugs, trying to make the impossible real. But every time doubt crept in, we looked at each other and remembered why we were doing this, to claim our place in a world that tried to erase us. We started small. Lena, from the youth center, offered to help us find a venue. There's this old barn on the edge of town, she said one afternoon, her eyes bright with mischief. It's run down, but it's got character. And it's cheap. We drove out to see it. A weathered structure nestled in a field of wildflowers. The roof leaked. The walls creaked. But it felt right, raw. Resilient. Like us. We'll make it ours, Jasper said, squeezing my hand. A queer wedding in a straight world. Let's do it loud. The barn became our obsession. We spent weekends scrubbing floors, patching holes, and stringing fairy lights we found at a thrift store. Marcus and his poet friends pitched in, turning old crates into rustic tables. Lena rallied the youth center kids, who painted signs with slogans like "Love is love" and "Family is who shows up." Their energy was infectious, and for the first time, I felt like we weren't alone. But the joy came with shadows. Jasper's sister, Min, texted him daily, pleading with him to tone it down at her wedding. "Just act normal," she wrote, and I saw the hurt flash across Jasper's face. I wanted to scream at her, but he shook his head. "She's scared," he said. "She's not ready to fight like we are." I wasn't so forgiving. "She's choosing comfort over you," I said, my voice sharp. "That's not love." Jasper sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Maybe not. But I can't give up on her yet." His loyalty broke my heart and made me love him more. I didn't push, but I made a silent vow. Our wedding would be everything Min's wasn't a celebration of who we are. No apologies. My own family drama wasn't far behind. I hadn't responded to Lily's email about Mom, but she called a week later. Her voice clipped. "She's got cancer. Ethan. Stage 3. You need to come home." I froze, the phone heavy in my hand. Jasper sat beside me, his presence grounding me. "What does she want from me?" I asked Lily. "Forgiveness. Absolution. She didn't want me when I was her son." Lily's silence was deafening. Finally, she said, "She's changed. She regrets things. Just come." I hung up, my chest tight. Jasper pulled me close, his voice soft. "You don't have to decide now. But whatever you choose, I'm here." I nodded, but the weight of it lingered. Could I face my mother after 7 years of silence? Did I even want to? To keep my mind off it, I threw myself into the wedding plans. We set a date 6 months from now, in the spring, when the wildflowers would bloom again. We couldn't afford a caterer, so Marcus's mom, a retired chef, offered to cook. Lena connected us with a queer photographer who'd work for free. Moved by our story, every piece fell into place. Not because it was easy, but because we had people who believed in us. One night, as we painted the barn's interior, Jasper paused, paintbrush in hand. "What if no one comes?" he asked, his voice small. "What if it's just us and a few friends, shouting into the void?" I set down my roller and crossed the room to him. "Then it's us and a few friends. And that's enough. This isn't about them, Jasper. It's about us saying, we're here, and we're enough." He smiled, but I saw the doubt in his eyes. I pulled him into a kiss, paint smudging on his cheek. "We're gonna make this epic. I promised. Even if it's just us." As winter set in, Jasper's resolve about Min's wedding wavered. He decided to go, alone, to keep the peace. I hated it but supported him. The night before he left, we lay in bed, his head on my chest. "I'm scared," he admitted. "What if I go and they still reject me?" "Then you come back to me," I said, my voice fierce. "And we keep building." He left for Willow Creek the next morning, and I spent the day sketching designs for our wedding invitations. But when my phone rang that evening, it wasn't Jasper. It was Lena, her voice urgent. "Ethan, you need to get here. Jasper's in trouble." My heart stopped. I grabbed my keys and ran, the road to Willow Creek blurring as fear took over. Whatever had happened, I'd fight for him. Because that's what love does, it fights, even when the odds are stacked against it. The drive to Willow Creek felt endless, my knuckles white on the steering wheel as Lena's words echoed, "Jasper's in trouble." She hadn't said much, just that he'd been at Min's wedding rehearsal when things went south. My mind raced with worst-case scenarios. Had his family turned on him? Had someone hurt him? I pulled into the parking lot of the community center where the rehearsal was held. Lena was waiting outside, her face grim. "He's okay. Physically," she said as I jumped out of the car. But his family, they ambushed him. Inside, I found Jasper sitting alone in a corner, his flannel shirt rumpled, his eyes red. The room was empty, the rehearsal apparently over. I knelt beside him, my hand on his shoulder. What happened? He took a shaky breath. I showed up, kept my head down like Min asked. But Dad saw me and lost it. Called me a disgrace in front of everyone, Minna's fiancé, his family, the whole wedding party. Min just stood there. Ethan. She didn't say a word. Rage boiled in my chest, but I kept my voice steady. You don't deserve that. None of it. He looked at me, his eyes searching. I thought I could handle it. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd see me as their son again. But they don't. They never will. I pulled him into my arms, letting him cry into my shoulder. Lena hovered nearby, her own anger barely contained. His dad tried to throw him out. She whispered. I stepped in, told them to back off. But Jasper wouldn't leave until Min spoke up. She didn't. We got Jasper to the car, and Lena promised to check in later. As we drove back to Burlington, Jasper stared out the window, silent. Finally, he said, I'm done with them. I want our wedding to be everything they're not: honest, open, real. I reached for his hand. It will be. I swear it. Back in Burlington, we doubled down on our plans. The barn was coming together, its rough edges softened by our work. We decided to make the wedding a community event, inviting not just friends but the kids from the youth center, local artists, anyone who'd ever felt like they didn't belong. It wasn't just about us, Anna Marie, it was about showing the world what love could do. But my own family drama wasn't done. I hadn't responded to Lily's call about Mom, but she showed up at Jasper's apartment one morning, unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there, her blonde hair pulled back, her eyes tired. Ethan, she said, we need to talk. Jasper excused himself to give us space, but I felt his strength behind me. What do you want, Lily? I asked, my voice colder than I meant. Mom's dying, she said bluntly. She wants to see you before it's too late. She's sorry, Ethan. She knows she was wrong. I laughed, bitter. 7 years too late for sorry. Why now? Because she's scared of what comes next. Lily flinched, but didn't back down. Maybe. But she's still your mom. Don't you want closure? I wanted to say no, to slam the door on her and the pain she represented. But something stopped Meme Jasper's influence. Maybe my own heart. I'll think about it, I said finally. But I'm not promising anything. She left, and Jasper returned, his arms wrapping around me. You don't have to decide today, he said. But if you go, I'm coming with you. The wedding plans kept us grounded. We found a local band willing to play for free. Their lead singer, a queer activist with a voice that could break hearts. I designed invitations with a phoenix motif, a nod to our resilience. But as the date approached, so did the pressure. We'd poured every cent we had into this, and the guest list was growing: friends, allies, strangers who'd heard our story and wanted to be part of it. One night, as we sorted RSVPs, Jasper got a call from Min. I braced myself, expecting another fight. But her voice was different, soft, broken. I'm sorry, she said, audible through the phone. I should have stood up for you. I was scared, and I failed you. Jasper's hand trembled as he held the phone. Why are you saying this now? Because I saw your wedding invite, she said. It's beautiful, Jasper, and I want to be there. If you'll let me. He looked at me, his eyes wide with hope and fear. I nodded, my throat tight. Okay, he said finally. Come. But only if you're ready to see meal of me. She agreed, and when the call ended, Jasper broke down, relief and pain mixing in his tears. I held him, knowing this was a step, not a solution. But it was enough for now. Min's promise to attend our wedding felt like a fragile victory, But it gave Jasper hope. I could see it in the way he smiled. A little brighter. As we hammered the final nails into the barn's transformation. The space was no longer a crumbling relic, it was a sanctuary. Glowing with fairy lights and wildflower bouquets we'd gathered ourselves. But my own family loomed like a storm cloud. I hadn't decided whether to see Mom, and the weight of it was eating at me. One evening, as Jasper and I sat on the barn's porch, watching the sunset paint the sky pink, I broke the silence. What if I go and she hasn't changed? What if it's just guilt talking? Jasper took my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my skin. Then you'll know. And you'll have me to come back to. But if you don't go, you might always wonder. He was right, and I hated it. The next day, I called Lily. I'm coming, I said. But Jasper's coming with me. If that's a problem, I'm out. To my surprise, she didn't argue. Just come, Ethan. Please. The drive to Willow Creek was quiet, Jasper's hand resting on my knee. My childhood home looked smaller than I remembered, its white paint peeling, the garden overgrown. Lily met us at the door, her face softer than before. She's in the living room, she said, glancing at Jasper. You must be Jasper. I'm glad you're here. Inside, Mom sat in an armchair, a blanket over her lap. She looked frail, her once vibrant hair thin and gray. Her eyes widened when she saw me, then flicked to Jasper, lingering on our joined hands. Ethan, she whispered, her voice cracking. You came. I nodded, my throat tight. This is Jasper, my fiancé. She blinked, processing the word. I braced for judgment, but instead, she said, You look happy. Both of you. The words hit me harder than I expected. We sat, and she talked about her diagnosis, her regrets, the years she'd spent clinging to beliefs that cost her a son. I was wrong, she said, tears in her eyes. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed you to know. I didn't forgive her, not fully, but I listened. Jasper squeezed my hand, grounding me through the pain. When we left, Mom hugged me, her frail arms trembling. I hope you'll invite me to your wedding, she said softly. I didn't answer, but as we drove away, Jasper said, You did good, Ethan. You faced it. Back in Burlington, the wedding plans kicked into high gear. The guest list swelled to nearly 100 friends, queer activists, even a few locals who'd heard about our story through Lena's network. We couldn't afford a fancy cake, so Marcus's mom baked a 3-tiered masterpiece, decorated with edible flowers. The kids from the youth center made a photo booth out of painted cardboard, their laughter filling the barn as they tested it. But not everything was smooth. A week before the wedding, we got a call from the barn's owner. Some folks in town aren't happy about your wedding, he said gruffly. They're calling it a disgrace. I'm getting pressure to cancel your lease. Jasper's face hardened. Are you backing out? The owner sighed. No. I don't care who you love. But watch your backs. The threat hung over us, but we refused to let it win. Lena organized a security team, volunteers from the youth center who'd keep an eye out for trouble. Marcus spread the word through his poetry network, turning our wedding into a rallying cry for acceptance. They can't stop love, he said at an open mic, his voice ringing. Not Ethan and Jasper's, not anyone's. The support was overwhelming, but so was the fear. Late at night, Jasper admitted, what if they ruin it? What if they show up and make it ugly? I pulled him close. Then we'll still say our vows. Because this is ours, Jasper. No one can take it from us. As the wedding day approached, Min confirmed she'd come. Alone. My mom sent a letter, asking again to attend. I wrestled with it for days, then showed it to Jasper. What do you think? He read it, his expression unreadable. She's trying. Ethan, that's more than my family's done. If you want her there, I'll support you. I nodded, writing back to invite her. It felt like a risk, but also a step toward healing, not for her, but for me. We were building more than a wedding now. We were building a future, one where love didn't just survive, I triumphed. The week before the wedding was chaos wrapped in hope. The barn was ready, its rough beams draped in white fabric and wildflowers, glowing under strings of thrift store lights. Jasper and I were a mess of nerves and excitement, checking lists, tasting Marcus's mom's lemon cake, and practicing our vows in secret. Every night, we fell into bed exhausted but grinning, our hands finding each other in the dark. But the threat from town lingered. Lena's security team reported whispers of a protest, nothing concrete, just enough to keep us on edge. We've got this, Lena assured us, her voice fierce. No one's ruining your day. Her confidence steadied us. But I caught Jasper staring out the window late at night, his jaw tight. You okay? I asked, wrapping my arms around him. He leaned into me. Just scared they'll take this from us. We fought so hard. Ethan. They won't, I said, kissing his temple. We're stronger than their hate. The day before the wedding, Min arrived in Burlington. She showed up at the barn, her eyes wide as she took in the decorations. This is incredible, she said, hugging Jasper tightly. I'm so proud of you. Jasper held her for a long moment, then stepped back. You mean it? She nodded, tears in her eyes. I was wrong, Jasper. I should have fought for you at my wedding. I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Her words were a balm, but I saw the caution in Jasper's eyes. Trust would take time. Still, having her there felt like a small miracle, a crack in the wall his family had built. My mom arrived that evening, driven by Lily. I hadn't seen Lily since our tense meeting, and her presence made my stomach churn. But Mom stepped out of the car, looking friendlier than before, and hugged me without hesitation. I don't deserve to be here, she said, but thank you for letting me. I nodded, unable to speak. Lily hung back, her expression unreadable. I'm here for Mom, she said finally. But it's a nice setup you've got. It wasn't much, but it was something. Jasper squeezed my hand, and we showed them the barn, the kids' photo booth, the tables we'd built. Mom smiled, her eyes misty. You've made something beautiful, she said. I wish I'd seen it sooner. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and crisp, the Vermont air sharp with the promise of spring. Jasper and I dressed in simple suits, mine navy, his gray borrowed from Marcus's poet friends. We stood in front of a cracked mirror in the barn's makeshift dressing room, adjusting each other's ties. You ready to marry me? I asked, grinning. He laughed, his eyes bright. Been ready my whole life. The ceremony was set for noon. The barn filled with nearly 100 guests, Lena's youth center kids, Marcus's poets, local queer activists, and a few brave townsfolk who defied the gossip to support us. The band played a soft acoustic version of Stand By Me, and wildflowers lined the aisle. But as we gathered outside for the processional, Lena rushed up, her face tense. We've got company. A dozen protesters. Across the road. They've got signs. And they're loud. My heart sank. Jasper's hand tightened in mine. What do they want? He asked. To make us feel small, Lena said, her eyes blazing. But we're not letting them. My team's keeping them back. You two focus on your day. I looked at Jasper, his face pale but resolute. This is our moment, I said. Let's make it louder than their hate. He nodded, and we walked to the aisle, hand in hand. The crowd parted, their cheers drowning out the distant shouts of the protesters. Min stood in the front row, tears streaming down her face. My mom sat beside her, clutching a tissue, her smile fragile but real. Lily was there too, her expression softer than I'd ever seen. The officiant, a queer pastor from Burlington, began. We're here to celebrate love, not just Ethan and Jasper's, but the love that binds us all, against all odds. As we said our vows, I forgot the protesters, the pain, the years of rejection. I saw only Jasper, his voice steady as he promised to love me, to fight for me, to build a life with me. My own vows came out choked. Raw, you're my home. Jasper. Always. When we kissed, the barn erupted in cheers, the sound echoing into the fields. The protesters' voices faded. Irrelevant. We'd won not just a wedding, but a life we'd fought for. Together. The reception was a riot of joy. The barn glowed under fairy lights, the band switching to upbeat folk tunes as guests spilled onto the dance floor. Jasper and I swayed together, his head resting on my shoulder, the world shrinking to just us. The protesters were gone. Lena's team had kept them at bay, and the local sheriff, a gruff ally, had warned them off. For now, we were untouchable. Min approached us, her smile tentative. Can I steal a dance? She asked Jasper. He glanced at me, and I nodded, stepping back, watching them dance. Slow and careful, I saw the years of distance between them start to close. Min whispered something, and Jasper laughed, a sound that warmed me from across the room. My mom found me near the photo booth, where kids from the youth center were snapping goofy pictures. Ethan, she said, her voice soft. I'm so proud of you. This is what love looks like. I swallowed hard, unsure how to respond. I wish you'd seen it sooner, I said finally. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I know, but I'm here now. Lily joined us, her posture stiff. I didn't get it before, she said, her voice low. Why you fought so hard for this? But seeing you too, I get it now. It wasn't an apology, but it was a start. I didn't push her. Healing, I was learning, was a slow burn. As the night wore on, Marcus took the mic for a poetry reading, his words weaving our story into something mythic. They tried to break you, he said, his voice carrying over the crowd. But you built a castle from their stones. The guests cheered, and Jasper squeezed my hand, his eyes shining. Lena pulled us aside later, her grin wide. You did it. This wedding's the talk of Burlington. People are posting about it. Online love wins is trending. I laughed, disbelieving. We just wanted to get married. You did more than that, she said. You gave people hope. The kids from the youth center swarmed us, showing off their photo booth pictures, silly poses, rainbow flags, signs that read, "You are enough." One girl, maybe 15, hugged Jasper tightly. Thank you, she whispered. This makes me feel like I can be me someday. Jasper knelt to her level, his voice gentle. You already are. And we're here for you. Watching him, I fell in love all over again. This was why we'd fought, not just for us, but for every kid who felt alone, every person told their love was wrong. As the party wound down, Jasper and I slipped outside, the cool night air a contrast to the barn's warmth. We sat on the porch, sharing a slice of cake, the stars bright above us. We did it, Jasper said, his voice soft. We built this. We're not done, I said, leaning against him. This is just the start. He smiled, kissing my forehead. What's next? Then. I thought about it. The future stretching out like an open road. We keep fighting. For us. For those kids. For everyone who needs to know love wins. He nodded, his hand finding mine. Together. Always. The next morning, we woke to a flood of messages, friends, strangers, even a few locals who'd heard about the wedding and wanted to support us. Lena sent a link to a local news article, "Queer couple defies odds with joyful wedding." The comments were mixed, but the love outweighed the hate. Min stayed in Burlington for a few days, rebuilding her bond with Jasper. My mom and Lily returned to Willow Creek, but Mom promised to visit soon. I didn't know if we'd ever be a family again, but the door was open, and that was enough for now. We spent the week after the wedding cleaning the barn, returning borrowed items, and dreaming about the future. Jasper talked about expanding his work at the youth center, maybe starting a program for queer kids in rural areas. I sketched ideas for a community art project, something to celebrate resilience and love. But the real work was quieter, building a life together. Day by day, we fought, we laughed, we held each other through the hard moments. And every time I looked at Jasper, I saw the boy I'd loved at 17 and the man I'd chosen forever. The weeks after the wedding felt like a new chapter, one we were writing together. Jasper and I settled into a rhythm in Burlington. Our apartment now filled with wedding gifts, handmade quilts, painted mugs, a photo album from the youth center kids. Each item was a reminder of the community we'd built, the love that had carried us through. But the world outside wasn't done testing us. A month after the wedding, we got a call from Lena. Someone vandalized the youth center, she said, her voice shaking with anger. Spray-painted slurs on the walls. "I need you both here." We rushed over, my heart sinking as we saw the damage, ugly words scrawled across the center's mural of a rainbow phoenix. The kids were there, some crying, others defiant. Jasper knelt beside a boy who looked about 13, his eyes red. "This doesn't define you," Jasper told him. "They're scared of how bright you shine." We spent the day painting over the hate, turning the wall into a new mural boulder, louder, with messages of love and resilience. The kids added their own touches, hearts, stars, their names in bright colors. By sunset, the wall was a masterpiece, a middle finger to the vandals. The vandalism sparked something in us. Jasper and I started a crowdfunding campaign to expand the youth center, aiming to create a safe space for queer kids across Vermont. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in, not just from Burlington, but from people who'd seen our wedding story online. A queer couple in California sent $500 with a note, "You inspired us to keep fighting." A teacher in Maine wrote, "Your love gives my students hope." With the funds, we hired more staff, added art and music programs, and planned a summer camp for queer youth. Jasper threw himself into the work, his passion infectious. I designed flyers and logos, pouring my heart into every pixel. Together, we were building more than a center, we were building a legacy. My mom visited a month later, her health fragile, but her spirit stronger. We showed her the youth center, and she cried when she saw the mural. "I wish I'd been there for you," she said, her voice breaking. "But I'm so proud of what you're doing now." I hugged her, feeling the weight of years lift. Just a little. "You're here now?" I said. "That's what matters." Lily started texting me. Small gestures at first, a photo of her dog, a link to a queer artist's work. It wasn't reconciliation. Not yet. But it was a bridge. Jasper's relationship with Min grew too, their weekly calls filled with laughter and tentative trust. 1 year after the wedding, we returned to the barn for an anniversary celebration. Lena and Marcus helped us organize a community party, inviting everyone who'd been part of our journey. The barn was alive again, filled with music, food, and stories. The youth center kids performed a skit about love conquering hate, and I couldn't stop smiling. As the night wound down, Jasper pulled me outside, the same porch where we'd shared cake a year ago. "I've got something for you," he said, handing me a small box. Inside was a ring not our wedding bands, but a new one, engraved with a tiny phoenix. "What's this?" I asked, my voice catching. "A promise," he said, sliding it onto my finger. "That we'll keep fighting, keep loving, no matter what." I kissed him under the stars, the world quiet except for the hum of our community inside. We'd been abandoned, rejected, told our love was wrong. But we'd built something unbreakably: a wedding, a home, a future. And we'd proved, against all odds, that love wins. Looking back, our story wasn't just about us. It was about every kid who felt alone, every person told they didn't belong. We'd faced hate, loss, and fear, but we'd also found joy, strength, and family, not the one we were born into, but the one we chose. As we stood on that porch, hand in hand, I knew this was only the beginning. The world would keep challenging us, but we'd keep building brick by brick, heart by heart. Because love doesn't just survive, it thrives. And ours would light the way for others, long after we were gone.